coming up on International Trade Focus. We have a one-on-one interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, is the government agency responsible for the promotion, coordinating, monitoring and facilitation of investment activities in Ghana. GIPC assists local and foreign investors. On International Trade Focus tonight, we'll be focusing on the activities of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, how they are positioning and marketing Ghana to attract more foreign investors for the country. International Trade Focus is brought to you by Ghana Fusion Authority and Pediasi Valley Resort. My name is Anna Spio. Stay tuned. Investment, churning natural resources into sustainable livelihoods. The process requires money, effort, time, and various skills. To create investment, or rather wealth for all, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, was re-established and revitalized in 2013 under the GIPC Act 865. Since then, the GIPC has seen a steady growth in human resource development and in functional structures poised to promote, facilitate, and encourage business and investment in Ghana. The investment menu currently served include agriculture and agribusiness, manufacturing and industry, tourism, ICT in industry, communication, mining, oil and gas services, infrastructure, financial sector. The GIPC keeps the investment prospects in all traction for all with a proactive oriented service delivery aided by highly resourceful and skilled professionals with worldwide trade and investment networks. Talking to GIPC means talking to the world in business. GIPC, fueling the investment furnace. Mr. Yofi Grant is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. We are coming to have a conversation with him to know about investment opportunities in Ghana and how the GIPC is positioning and marketing Ghana to attract more investors into the country. Hello, Mr. Yofi Grant.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Right, now as a reminder, kindly let us know the vision and the mission of the GIPC.
Well, we don't actually spell out our work in the mission and vision per se. What it is that we are the government's agency to promote, facilitate and attract investments to the economy, both the large and the small ones. So that is what we do. Additionally, we also work with the other various agencies to engage in reforms to the market that make it more investment friendly and business friendly. And then we also act as a sounding board for the presidency. So we are actually an office under the presidency. And so we report right through to the president on what investors are looking for, what investors want, and what Ghana's value proposition is.
So does the GIPC have regulatory functions in the investment sector?
Yes, it does indeed. It does indeed, because some of our work means that we, for example, we have to register all foreign investors that come into Ghana. And so after registering them, we also monitor and follow up what they're doing to make sure that what they registered with is what they're doing. That's one typical example of a regulatory function that we do have.
Right, so let us know what are some of the strategies, programs, policies that you've devised to help you achieve your set targets.
Well, first of all, we are a very, should I say, significant part of the economy and the development agenda. So, of course, we have to look at what the priority areas are, government's priorities areas are, which currently range from energy to infrastructure to agro and agro-processing to tourism, ICT, and then the soft social investment, but health and education, which are critical for the economy. But additionally, because of the new clarion call for a Ghana Beyond Aid, we also recognize that we are expecting that we'll harness and garner our resources and our energies into the development agenda as a people. So that means a totally different direction of the economy. Whereas before we were just exporting our raw materials and processes, now we are actually looking at adding value and transitioning into a manufacturing or industrial nation, but not necessarily start to build big machines and trains and things here, but we'll start slowly and climb up using the resources that we have.
So let's take a look at your major stakeholders in the investment sector. Who are they? Can you tell us a bit about
Our
them?
major stakeholders first are the people of Ghana, because then we have to go out, look for investment to support development projects here, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's energy, it's mining, etc. So if you look at the economy from traditionally the Ghanaian economy and what it has, a significant part of the growth has come from investments in banking, in technology through the mobile phone industry, the hospitality industry, and mining, where all the major players in these sectors were funded by FDI, foreign direct investment. So your first constituency is to Ghana, because what you bring in must have an impact on the development of our economy. So that's your first stakeholder, as you may call them. The others, of course, are people with the capital to invest and people who are looking for opportunities to invest in. And so that is the whole universe, because what you have to go then to do is to sell what you have. First, to take the country branding out, make sure that people know what country it is and what they understand of it, and then once they get a feel of what country you're talking about, then you talk to them about what opportunities are there for them to invest in. But you know what you want. You want investment that will be critical to the economy, to develop the economy. So that's what you go searching for. So all the people who fall within that remit are part of our stakeholder constituency, as you mentioned.
Right. So, talking about the stakeholder constituency, do you focus mainly or mostly on foreign investors? Local investors also captured, and in which way are they captured?
You see, it's a very interesting question, because very often people say, "But you guys only look at, or you people, the institution only looks at foreign investors." First of all, that is where we want the capital to come from. Because this is our country, we want more capital here. But that doesn't mean that that's the only source of capital that they are. Ghanaians who are already in business here have invested. They are investors in the economy. Even people in the retail trade are investors in the economy. People who open little shops, the corner shops, etc. They are investors in the economy. So they are just as important, especially for the distribution of goods and resources. But of course, if you want to develop, let's say, a road that's going to cost $500 million, you are more likely to find investment capital from outside than from inside. Because for over the many years, we haven't had the sort of capital formation within our business sector that has the big, what we'll end up calling bulge bracket, resources. So when you're talking of investors, ordinarily, it can be anybody who has money to put somewhere. But in the case of Ghana, when you talk about investor, and I'm sure you yourself, you're talking of somebody bringing his money from outside to come and plug in. And that is what we normally look for, because for the big ticket items, like you're looking at a power plant, you're looking like a gas plant, those are hundreds of millions of dollars. You're not likely to find it here. And I have said this somewhere, and people say, no, you can find the money here. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at our budgets over the past how many years, a significant proportion of our budget is from donor support, because we just do not have the capital here. So if we want to do roads, we want to do schools, we want to do hospitals, it's up to government to find the money. And we either get that money from taxes or you borrow. And if government doesn't want that, then it has to make the investment environment attractive, so that those are the money who see it as an attractive business opportunity will then come and invest here. For us at GIPC, we clearly embrace the thought that investment is not an act, it's a relationship. It's a relationship you have to form between capital and a business opportunity that translates into a business.
I know that as part of your quest to drive more investment into Ghana, you attend various seminars, workshops, and exhibitions. Now, based on your interaction with some of these investors or potential investors, what's the perception? What perception do they have about Ghana, or what's the impression of Ghana's business
Actually,
environment?
conferences, seminars, and workshops form a small proportion of our outreach programs. We do investor missions, we do trade and investment missions, which do a lot of the actual investment promotion. Additionally, I travel with the president on his missions, because most of his missions are related to trade and investment. I travel with the Minister of Foreign Affairs because we now focus a lot more on economic diplomacy than political diplomacy. I travel with a couple of other ministers when it relates to their sector, and I travel with the Minister of Finance as well, because very often when he has to go and make a pitch, it must also include what the investment climate is and what the country attraction is.
So we acknowledge that investment is broad, and every country, takes a look at investment differently depending on their own strategies and other factors. When it comes to Ghana, which countries do we prefer to have a business relationship with?
I am not sure it's as much as a preference as to which country we find it easier to attract for investment. Because at the end of the day, we look for investors who add value to the economy. They may come from some of the most unsuspecting countries. Like, I've been to Latvia, where there are people looking at coming to the chocolate industry in Ghana. I've been to other countries like India, where they look to broaden the investment in Ghana from the usual retail trade that we know that Indians do very well into manufacturing. And so we've been to Luxembourg to see if we can find partners to be in the financial systems, or to partner with government in some of its own debt instruments. So we look for where the best fit is, and it's not necessarily by country preference. But you also realize in practice that some countries are much more aggressive in seeking opportunities elsewhere. For example, China. China is very aggressive, and China has, should I say, ascended the ladder of economic players from almost rock bottom to the second largest economy in the world. So you are likely to see Chinese investors, by even their sheer population. I remember once a Chinese official told me that if you look at the population of China in relation to the world, China is 1/4 of the world. So you should just imagine that 1/4 of your population is Chinese. It's a frightening thought, but in terms of sheer numbers, that's what it is. So they are more aggressive, and they will come, because they have capital, they now have expertise, and they have intention. But of course, the traditional investors that we've known, the UK has been an investor in Ghana, Germany is there, India is there, US somewhat, through the MCA or other instruments they've invested here. There are US companies that come here. And what you're going to realize is not as much of a country as an investor. Today, quite a number of the multinationals, the M&Es as we call them, that come, are multinational. They do not come from one country, but they build big businesses with ownership spread around countries. And they have the capital to invest. So they will come and invest. If you take a Unilever, for example, it's a multinational. It would be very difficult to find exactly whether it's got more British shareholders than it's got American shareholders or Dutch shareholders, So it's the investor that is the focus. So you look at where you can find that investor. But also, you know that certain countries are much more aggressive in certain areas. So if we look at something like Norway, who have a very strong tradition in oil and gas, if you're looking to do new fields, it's likely you would talk to Norwegians as well, because they might be interested. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, so that's how we normally approach it. Sometimes we also do targeting. So we look for those who are already invested in certain areas and look to see whether they are going to expand their businesses or are looking for new territories. And therefore, those are the guys who are likely to invest in yours. But the whole investment, should I say, template, first means that you have to do the country branding, and and sell the country first, because if they don't know where you are, how can they come and invest in you? So you sell, say, this is Ghana, it's in the center of West Africa, it's politically stable, because you know that every investor wants to see a politically stable country. And yes, indeed, we are. It's a very relatively peaceful place in West Africa. We believe in the rule of law. You know, those are all country branding things. Then when you've done that, then you go down and say, okay, we are a very resource-rich country. So we have loads of minerals here. We have gold, we have diamond, now we have oil and gas, and we have iron ore, we have lithium, we have bauxite. And now the investor then starts to say, okay, Ghana, it sounds like a great place. And they also have lithium that I'm looking for. So maybe I should start talking to them. Now, talking to them means that then he wants to be comfortable that he can actually come and do business here. He wants to be also comfortable that he can make his money, return some, and build whatever he wants to build. So all those considerations come. And from the process, talking to an investor to get him to do the actual investment could be anything from 6 months to 24 months.
Okay. And during that period, what do you actually do?
You're constantly on the road. You're going to new places. You're talking to new investors. But you're also looking to see what the investors here are doing. And that's where we says, apart from being a promotion agency, we also have certain regulatory, responsibilities. For example, making sure that any company that has a contractual obligation between its parent company and a local subsidiary, where the local subsidiary has to pay the parent company for certain services, has a technology transfer agreement. Because without that, they can't transfer the money. So you have to check and make sure they all complied with it and they are valid. So those are regulatory. So apart from the promotion, you also do the regulatory bit. But it's in between that is a non-stop thing. And interestingly, in more recent times, Ghana has really hit the airwaves. Everywhere you go, when you mention Ghana, everybody turns their neck to see what you're saying, because they recognize Ghana as maybe the place that you should start looking at, based on the number of parameters which I mentioned to you. In selling Ghana, I also tell people that, look here, Ghana is in the middle of the world. We are the only country on latitude 0, longitude 0. We are practically in the middle of the world. Now that counts for something. You're equidistant from many places. So as a trade hub, you have a great potential. As a regional hub, you also have a great potential because we're in the middle of West Africa. So that's all part of the country pitch. So after they've seen that, and you have to keep going, because going to sit in front of somebody for 2-3 hours, you'll be crazy to think that you've immediately sold a concept to him. When he's interested in the country, he'll probably contact you back and says, I'm looking at, let's say, bauxite. So what can you tell me about bauxite? So he may decide to come and have a look and put his pitch together, or he may engage you in conversation and may require that sometime. No, you've got to come back. You can't convince me. Or we see that is a great potential. We go back. We take the data that you need. We take information that will allow him or enable him to make an informed decision about the country. And then you go back and talk to them. But now, because Ghana has become a bit of the flavor of the moment with investment destinations.
It's easier to sell.
Everybody wants you to come to their country. And we have to be selective that, okay, if we go here, what are we likely to benefit from it? Nothing. No, we won't do. But if we go here, they are very eager to come into the country. They want to do this. You know that maybe some countries are great with bauxite, and they have a great bauxite industry. So that's a likelihood that you go there, because you know that they've done it before, they understand it. So even the value you get, the transfer of knowledge you get from them is worth pursuing. Apart from the fact that they will invest capital. And capital means that they will build the factories, they will employ people. And so for me, as the head of GIPC, I keep saying, okay, I have a mantra I play in my head all the time when I go out. I say, the more investment you have, the more businesses you have. The more businesses you have, the more people you can employ. The more people you can employ, the more businesses you have, the more tax you can collect.
That is interesting.
Yes.
The ultimate goal is collecting tax.
Yes, the ultimate goal is how do we go to develop our country? Because the tax is going to development.
Okay, so then let's delve deeper into the sort of investments that we are looking to drive into the country, or the sort of investment that we've already had in the country.
Okay. Well, traditionally, I say traditionally because that's what you're going to see. Traditionally, most investors that have come into Ghana and into Africa, to a large extent, have been what we call resource-seeking foreign direct investors. They are seeking your resources, oil and gas, gold, diamonds, your metals. So they just come and invest in the mines to dig out the metal and take it away. As the country develops and as our own strategy changes, now we are looking for efficiency-seeking investors or market-seeking investors. Investors who want to increase their market, so they come and invest in your country to create the possibility of exporting more to other markets. Or the efficiency-seeking investors who have maybe some technology or some high-end product, and they think that by manufacturing in your country, they can do it cheaper and better than manufacturing in another country. So they come in there. Now, at any time, you have to be balancing what type of investment you want. The interesting thing about resource-seeking investments is most of them really can't be too bothered about whether you're a peaceful country, you are stable or not. If it's your gold, they want to come for it. If it's your oil, they want to come for it. And in the past, they would even subvert your own systems to enable them take out these resources. And of course, it's the debate is out whether there is a resource curse. That countries that have very rich resources very often become, terrible economies because people come in there and they want to take those resources, unless you have such strong leadership to make sure that you benefit significantly from your resources. There are others, that say that, maybe we don't have enough resources, but we can be a great efficiency-seeking FDI destination. And you see countries like Switzerland who don't have anything, even Japan. They don't have any resources, but they are wealthy countries. They've allowed for investors to come in and build what they have and use that to build their economies and become very wealthy. You look at Dubai. Dubai probably, maybe the economy is only 15% oil. I stand to be correct on the figure. But they built a solid logistics and services economy. And now are moving even out of that into tourism and lifestyle economy. So they've created amazing tourist destinations in Dubai for people to just come for holidays, etc., etc. So every country needs to look at its strategy and say, okay, where are we positioning ourselves? Ghana is in a very interesting place, and I keep saying it. Ghana is very fortunate to be so richly endowed with all sorts of resources. Apart from the minerals, we have a certain entrepreneurial dynamism in the market. We, compared to the other parts of the region, we have just adequately educated people. So if you're looking for manpower, in terms of the competence, you are likely to come to Ghana in West Africa. If you're looking for just sheer numbers, you're likely to go to Nigeria because they have a population. So all these things count in the sort of metrics or factors you're looking at to attract investment into the. But Ghana is so well endowed. But the more cogent reason really is from policy and the leadership. Most people want to know, so where is the leadership looking? What are they going to do? What do they want to do? And when you have a good leader, with a great vision, he can actually drive the investment attractiveness or direction of your country. Because every investor wants to know what your policies are. They want to know what the economy is like.
If you just tuned in, you're watching International Trade Focus. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Right, if you just tuned in, you're watching International Trade Focus. We are having a conversation with Yofi Grant. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. So, Mr. Grant,
Yes,
in your line of operation, have you ever encountered a situation where you are in talks with a potentially big investor, and then all of a sudden they just decide to pull out?
Oh yes, very often. Very often, because every investor invariably is going to do his own due diligence. And there may be policies that are not necessarily, friendly to what they want to do, or they may come seeking certain incentives or reliefs that you are not ready to give to them. And also, you should know that it's a very competitive field. So an investment coming to West Africa will probably be looking at Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, along a number of parameters. So for example, you want to go into manufacturing, and manufacturing is power and energy intensive. They'll look for where it costs them the least. But also not just look at that, but see that, okay, if we do that, do we have any incentives? What's the advantage of locating the factory in Ghana as to locate it in Cote d'Ivoire or locate it in Nigeria? Nigeria, they have problems with power. We know that. Okay, Ghana, thinkers, they was doing so, but we've overcome that. Okay, Cote d'Ivoire, what's the tariff? Whereas, maybe it's just about 8 cents. Ghana, maybe 16 cents. Then Cote d'Ivoire becomes more attractive. Then, okay, I think that we want to go into manufacturing, and then we've decided that because of one district, one factory, we give certain incentives. So those incentives may outweigh the tariff cost, and says, well, all in all, put together, maybe it's better we locate in Ghana than in Cote d'Ivoire, because you put all the factors together, Ghana still looks more attractive. So the investor also does his own due diligence and looks at the matrix of factors that make a country more attractive. And you see, and I mentioned that before, we are engaged in reforms. These reforms means that we are changing our business environment to make it much more friendly than it was before. Not because of investors only, but also Ghanaian business people, so they can do their business unencumbered freely and make the money and contribute to the economic growth. And then investors will also find it more attractive because you have a very good business environment. So those are all some of the factors. And in the course, you meet investors who come and say, well, your story is good, but I'm not ready for XYZ. Some investors even look at your social life. Are there schools there so that when they come here, their kids can go to schools? Are there hospitals that if something happens to them, they can be treated? And as you're looking for investment in tourism, for example, these are the things that come immediately. So if something happens to me in Ghana, would I get the necessary attention? So suddenly we realize that, we just can't just go bring investors into tourism. We have to make sure we have good roads, we have to make sure we have good hospitals, we have to make sure we have ambulances. All those are factors that contribute to it. We have to make sure that we have hotel rooms and they are affordable. Then that means that you can attract investors or you can attract tourists. So anybody come to invest in tourism will be looking at the extent to which you are doing these things, because that will directly impact on their business.
So in as much as we are trying to drive investments into the country, I believe that, as you mentioned earlier on, your major stakeholder is the Ghanaian population, or the ordinary Ghanaian. So what policies has GIPC put in place to ensure that foreign investors do not flout our laws and make local business owners uncomfortable?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's not just GIPC who has a remit to that. The police has. If you're coming to do business in Ghana, you have to do it according to our laws. And so if the law is not written in our books and it's other agencies' books, then that agency has to make sure that the investors who come in do the right thing. And we've seen people come in to come and do business, not just invest, but do business. And we've seen the onslaught that it has brought to our environment through GIPC, etc., etc. I'm not sure any of those people came in at the border, at the airport, or wherever it is. Reason for visiting, I'll come to do GIPC. Of course, immediately you say, no, you can't enter. But they come in under all sorts of excuses, and then next thing you see, they are all over the place. For example, we've had issues with what I would call non-Ghanaians in our markets, because the law said that only Ghanaians can operate in our markets, except the person invests $1 million and employs 20 people or more, right? So if you go to the market, you see a foreigner there who's open shop and he's doing something illegal. And that, for most of our people in the retail business, is a problem because they replace them. And if you are from ECOWAS, we also have ECOWAS protocols, which says that there should be free movement of goods and people within the 90-day limit, and so far as they've declared the business they're coming to do. So all these things are there that you are constantly balancing to make sure that you have a harmonious sector, because you can't immediately say that, no, I don't want any foreigner in my market. Because what is going to happen then is that we will be patronizing foreign markets, going to buy their goods to come and sell in our markets. The ultimate desire is that we will manufacture our own goods and sell our own goods here. And so we're expecting that some of our retail people will then be enabled to go up into manufacturing and distributing, so that they don't just sell at the retail side. But at the same time, make sure that they're not displaced by people who are breaking the law.
let's talk about some of the stumbling blocks, for lack of a better word, or challenges that the organization faces in your line of operation.
Well, for a lot of foreign investors, for example, the provision that says that if you are in a joint venture, you should demonstrate that you brought in 200,000, and if you're in a wholly owned industry, wholly owned foreign investor, you must bring in 500,000. For a lot of investors, it's just a barrier, a psychological barrier, because other countries are not asking for those limits. And so if they're comparing Ghana, they say, well, let me go to Cote d'Ivoire or Lome, because they're not asking for that. And for us, even the big players who comes in, but why do you have it? Because it's a disincentive. And recently, I've had occasion to discuss it with groups of people, where there was a case where a Ghanaian living in the UK, who was very good with his boss. So his boss decided that, let's go to Ghana. I have some money. Let's go to your country to do some business. So they did come here, and he found that this would be a great place to do some farming. So he gave his Ghanaian friend, newfound friend, $50,000 to start a farm. And the guy did start the farm, but the company was owned 50-50. But now they had a problem, because he's a foreign investor. He has to register at GIPC, and if he's in a joint venture, it means the minimum he can bring in is 200,000. And the chap says, but I don't need 200,000. I won't live here. My partner is Ghanaian, he will live here, but we're in partnership. I will invest. And in fact, he invested 100%, but he put the business 50-50. Now he couldn't register because he didn't bring in $200,000. So inadvertently, what you're telling him is that he can't do business in Ghana. But he had invested 50,000, and they were exporting. So the Ghanaian too felt extremely frustrated, because says, well, but my partner, the next amount of money he's going to bring is $100,000. It's still less than the $200,000. But he can't register because that's what the law says. So we miss out on some of these opportunities. And so we are looking to see whether there's a case to say that let's do away with that, because a lot of countries don't have that.
What will it take for you to do away with this policy?
Well, we've had broad consensus for the past 2 years, and we are preparing now to present to Cabinet and then to Parliament. We have a few more stakeholder sessions to have, so that people understand why, if it goes out of the law, there's a reason for it. If it stays, there's still a reason for it. So those are the things that you have to do. But at the end of the day, the important thing for where the economy is going is, once we've positioned ourselves to be the best place to do business in Africa, we have to do some of these necessary reforms. The important thing to realize is that whatever we do should be beneficial to our economy. So there may be cases where there's the economic argument. Some will say that, well, up front, bring a lot of the investors, let them come in. Let them come in and open their business, because when they open their businesses, Ghanaians will get jobs. And Ghanaians will also learn, and over time they'll do that. Many countries have different models. Singapore had its model, Dubai has its model, Rwanda had their model. The important thing is that the overall beneficiary should be the economy that is there. And for me, I think that creating an environment where we just have more businesses and more investment is good, because it will create more jobs for us. And the more jobs we have and more businesses means what? More taxes. So government can now get the money to do what it has to do. But these are all models that you have to keep tossing, because you're also making sure that you protect the political economy, and that you're not going to, because you want to bring in foreigners, Ghanaians don't benefit. My experience is that the more investment we've had, the more economic benefits we've had. And it's not necessarily financial benefit, but economic benefit. Because when they bring and invest, they bring technology, they bring capital, they bring the transfer of knowledge, they bring different management perspectives. And because they want to survive, to make their money, they make sure they bring the best of management. So there's a lot to learn from that. And that is the model that Singapore used. In fact, Singapore, according to Lee Kuan Yew, when they had it, he actually went to bring the investors to come in there. He says, you come, we'll hold your hand, you come in here. Right now, you can own anything. We don't want to own it, but we just want to learn and see. 20 years after, 30 years after, the economy is now run by Singaporeans because they've learned, they've understood, they've made money, so they claw back and say, okay, we can do this business. And because they're indigenous, they can do it more competitively than the investor. So you see that it has all sorts of values. I mean, China, when they started reformation, then decided that, well, okay, we've had a closed economy for a very long time. We have a huge market. We have to turn it to our advantage. So they created enclaves. We go to Guangzhou, some of these places, Shanghai province. All these provinces were made as an experiment, as a pilot, to see how they can fast track investment. And so for some of them, they even made it tax-free for foreigners. And Chinese were paying taxes. They'll give you the land for free. You bring your investment. Many years after, the rest is history. China is building more billionaires faster than any other place in the world. China has immediately moved from what used to be an economy that nobody was proud of to the second largest economy in the world. Even the US to date still competes for investment.
Taking a look at the policies that some of these economical giants are practicing or are using in their line of operation to attract investors, I know that the world has become a global village, so we've all had some exposure to go to, for instance, go to China, go to the US, go to Singapore, to see how things are being done. Are we going to inculcate it into our own policies?
Oh yes, we are looking, we do a lot of peer analysis, peer-to-peer comparisons to see what others have done and succeeded and whether we can do better. Not the same, better. Because you have to move there. But also at the back of our minds that, well, whatever we do, we should make sure it inures to the benefit of the country and our people. So we do that. We do a lot of that, and I am sure when we are out there doing the reforms, it's not just because we compare with other countries. How can we be more attractive and more competitive? So let's say, for example, we use the World Economic Forum and World Bank's ratings of the East to do business, and we are constantly tweaking our business sector to see how we can actually rise to the top. Last year, we moved 6 spots up. And we are still at it. I'm sure some of the reforms come to the market will move us another 10 tops up. And Ghana will gradually be moving up and becoming one of the best places to do businesses. I am convinced that we can do it. And I believe there's the political will.
Is this reflecting in our economy?
Of course, yes. Because the more investors think that you're attractive, they want to come and do business here. I mean, all these investments, and I can tell you, I've been on a number of trips last year with the president, and the benefit has been immense. I mean, if I take Japan, after the president's visit, then you have Honda wanting to come and assemble motorbikes here. We have a group like Toyota Chusho, which now virtually was a Toyota brand, wanting to come and do CSK and should I say, partially knocked down assembly plants here. You know, SDKs, CDKs, SDKs. They want to come here. Nissan is looking to come here. Fuji Oil is looking at the cocoa industry. Ajinomoto is looking at the food processing. Can you imagine if even 4 of these big players, global players, come to Ghana and realize that, we can do business in Ghana? What do you think is going to happen? To be transformative for the economy. Because they will bring capital, they bring know-how, people invest in agriculture to give them the raw material they need. We went to China, and he went to 1 or 2 places. We had Sinotrak now says, okay, want to build an assembly plant in Ghana. We had Sino Hydro says, yeah, your story is good. We believe in you. We like the story you're selling. So Sino Hydro says, okay, 2 billion. And a number of things, infrastructure, that. So many companies from China are suddenly looking at Ghana because they think we are attractive. We went to Germany. What has been the result? VW wants to come here. We have other players, other OEM manufacturers who are looking at the market. We have Bosch, we have Siemens, who are all looking at Ghana because, the president said the right things and he gave the confidence. And we follow up on these things. It's our job at GIPC to make sure you follow up and make sure that after he's spoken, you go after him and make sure you do the detailed work to bring these investors in. So it's a very good. I think the Ghana story today is very good because we can see the intentions being driven by a certain vision and a confidence and a commitment to it. And for me, that's what defines the Ghana Beyond Aid. I keep saying that the Ghana situation can be described in 3 O's: opportunity, openness, and optimism. Opportunity because there's a lot of opportunity, we're resource rich. Openness because we are actively engaging with investors, with our law systems, making sure we have the right thing, and we discuss these things. So there's openness. When you come here, the rules are clear. Even if they are not clear, we are working to make them clearer. And then optimism. We've seen that expressed in our GDP growth. After 2 years of the current government, we moved from the GDP growth, which was the lowest in 22 years, to being one of the fastest growing economies in the world in 2017. We're looking at 2018, it will be once again repeated because of the policies we have. We have aggressive policies, aggressive to growth, like the One District, One Factory, which is going to be the actual sort of platform or foundation for industrialization in our economy. We have the Planting for Food and Jobs to ensure that we have food security, not just to feed our people, but also to provide a resource for industrialization. So all of these things are complete. And we've seen that they've all yielded some results. It's not all going to happen in a day, but we are getting there. I was surprised when the Minister of Agriculture told me that, for last year we didn't even import 1 grain of maize. All was here. There's a glut in tomatoes. A friend of mine who sells yam tells me, the price of yam have so dropped that sometimes he has to even give some for free, because don't buy it at the price you were selling before. So these are all benefits that you get from the economy. And after 1, 2, 3 cycles, it brings about an economy that is moving gradually, creating more opportunity.
So we are only a few weeks into the new year, into 2019. What is GIPC's plan for the year?
Well, our plan is to do what we've done before much more intensively and better. We need to create more opportunity with foreign direct investments. We need to also work at the reforms to make sure that we are attractive. We are an attractive investment destination, which is critical because that's how the investment is going to come. But also, we are doing quite a number of interesting things. We are looking at what ifs. And I'm sure you've heard of things like citizen by investment. What does it mean? Something we've discussed at the top level. Many countries have benefited from it, even the United States of America. They can easily tell you, I know Canada is now saying that because of citizen by investment rules that they have, that means that you become a citizen by investing a certain amount. Every year they're clocking $2 billion through that program. People buying homes, people buying businesses to become Canadian citizens. Turkey has a very aggressive program. If you go to the West Indies, they have all these. So we are looking at new ideas.
Has Ghana gotten to that level yet where people would actually want to invest to become citizens?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You look around, you see a lot of people from Asia in Ghana who've been here for 10 years. They've been working here. They like it here. They live here. I have a lot of Lebanese friends who are Ghanaians because they've lived here forever. I have people who came to work with me in my banking days who never went back. They stayed in Ghana because it's a nice place to be. So all those things are there. We're also trying to see how we can use our incentive structure better, such that if you partner with a Ghanaian or if you help us accelerate achievement of the SDGs, then maybe you are the one who should get the incentives. Those are all ideas that we are thinking about. We're doing quite a number of things. We are going to put in a new whole communication system that would enable us, first of all, to be able to engage better. We have actively and aggressively embraced social media. So you see a lot of things that we do on social media. We are going to aggressively now look for local investors into some of the smaller hanging fruit. We do youth entrepreneur workshops. We're going to do an innovation workshop. We're going to do an Ghana investment forum in partnership with Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Business Development, the AGI, the PEF, and the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, and showcase the opportunities we have. Bring the banks, bring Ghanaians who are interested, and show them how they can do it. We are even thinking of doing an exhibition for One District, One Factory here in Ghana, so that people will come and see what is going on. because when they see, then they know that it's really happening, and then they see opportunity. So at the GIPC, we are aggressively seeing how we can up the ante and do more in terms of exposure of the opportunities that are in Ghana, both to Ghanaians and then to foreigners. Because at the end of the day, what you're really looking for is economic development.
Thank you very much, CEO of GIPC, for your time.
You are most welcome. I look forward to talking to you again.
That was an interview with Mr. Yofi Grant, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. He told us all about the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and how they are positioning and marketing Ghana to attract more investors. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on International Trade Focus. Do make a date with us next week for some more on international trade-related activities. My name is Anna Spio. Thank you so much for your company. Remember, International Trade Focus is brought to you by Ghana Free Zones Authority and Peduase Valley Resorts. Good night.